is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Dark Tower, Book 5, Wolves of the Calla, Part 3, Chapters 5 and 6. In these chapters, he'll shoot your eye out, kid! Ha! 'Cause he shot Andy's eye out. He shot both his eyes out. It was real satisfying. Welcome to Unspoiled.
It was real satisfying.
Yeah, it really was, though. Oh, man. And I made that joke partially because, and this won't translate well at all for people listening far in the future, but it's around Christmas time right now. So, a Christmas story is in the air and on TV, and felt really relevant in many, there's just so many layers to that joke that if you didn't laugh, that's probably on you. So...
That's a great way of doing this. If you didn't laugh, it's your own damn fault.
Yep. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
I'm Miles.
And this is my first recording since coming back from Florida, and I feel great, and I'm ready to go. I kind of expected that if I had anything that I was going to have to do on the day I came back, that I would be, bummed about it, but you contacted me, and I had forgotten. You were like, hey, do you still want to record today? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, I do want to record today. Let's do that. It's almost like I'm rested. It's weird.
It's a weird feeling. It's very strange.
I do not know what to make of it.
Yeah, I'm just really stoked that we're keeping on schedule. We're going to be finishing this book right at the end of the year. It's just, I love shit like that. So,
yes, me too. I've had a lot of things wrap up before the trip, or we'll be wrapping up shortly, and I am feeling it.
Well, I am squeezing this in the day before I leave for Seattle.
Right, for PodCon?
PodCon, yeah. If any of y'all listening out there, like I said before, are going to be in Seattle this weekend, and or are going to PodCon, hit me up. Hit me up on the media's social, and we'll get together, man. But yeah, I'm going to Seattle, so we couldn't record tomorrow because I'm going to be on a fucking train, because fuck flying. God, I hate flying.
I just cannot. I don't love flying because it's a pain in the ass, but if I could choose to be somewhere in 2 hours versus, 10,
No way.
I'm going to pick the 2. Thank you very much.
I am actively, like Sharon and I are really upset because it's been a long time since we spent anything resembling the length of time that we're going to spend right now, apart from each other. And it's just I'm going to miss you too, honey. But I will totally add 4 days to this trip in order to avoid airplanes.
Oh my God. I mean, the one thing I can say is that on trains nowadays, you've got Wi-Fi and you can get shit done, which is an advantage. Because that's the only thing, flying when you aren't going a very long distance, it's just enough time to feel like you need to have something to do, but not really long enough to actually be worth bringing a bunch of shit with you and carting it around.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm going to get to do a lot of work while I'm there. I've told my boss, because I work from home anyway. Mm-hmm. So I told my boss, hey, you can, by all means continue paying me because I'll be on the train. I can do shit. And, I don't even need Wi-Fi necessarily. And I can, I can edit podcasts and everything, so.
Are you going to have a sleeper car?
No.
See, fuck that, no.
Sleeper cars are ridiculously expensive.
I know they are, which is why I don't take a train for crazy long trains.
I have no problem sleeping in the seat, and to me, if you're willing to sleep in the seat, then it's basically the same price as flying. So it takes longer.
All right. What's the other price you pay, though, Miles? What's the price to your poor neck and shoulders?
No, that's great. I get the benefit of staying on the fucking ground where I belong. Anyway.
All right, so let's
I've
talk
read
about
these
these
books
two
before,
chapters. Yeah. We did 2 this week to make up for having missed some.
Yep.
And the first one, I was starting to get irritated because it was just a whole bunch more of let's try and convince these people. And I'm like, I really thought we'd done that. Can we just get to the shit now, please?
Well, I mean, they're already mainly convinced. I think the most interesting thing about Chapter 5, the meaning of the Falcon, is that, well, first of all, the most interesting thing is that we learn there's a dude named Old Bernardo, who is the town tosspot. Natasha, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
What, the fuck is a tosspot?
I mean, I always thought that it meant where you would, like, spit. You know?
Is this the dude that everybody spits on?
No, like if you were doing, like, a wine tasting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and how you always, like, swish it around in your mouth to aerate it, and then you spit it out. And that's what I imagine a tosspot to be. Apparently it means a drunk, but I mean, I guess it makes sense with what I was thinking it meant, but I don't think what I thought it meant has anything to do with where the word actually comes from. I think that's just a complete coincidence.
I just like, he throws that word out there like we're all supposed to know what it means, and I'm like, dude, I could come up with some interpretations, but let's not do that. But the other interesting thing, I think, is that this is the moment where, like, the diehard anti-Roland contingent kind of makes their stand. Particularly George Telford, the dude with the silver mustache and the sort of southern gentleman who confronted Eddie at the beginning.
I'm thinking of him as the chicken the chicken lawyer in, is it Futurama?
Oh God, that's perfect.
You know what I
know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
God, if people don't watch that, they're just gonna be like, "The fuck is she talking about?" But trust me, guys, chicken lawyer.
It's a thing. So basically, what happens here is that poetically, T.N. Jaffords opens up the meeting as he did before, and there's some kind of cool, like, you know, I don't know, it's all right. I'm okay with a brief glimpse into the mind of Tien going like, oh my God, I'm so scared, I never should have started this whole thing. But, good.
Yeah, I think I just would have, like, I think I would have been more okay with it if it didn't feel like we were just rehashing a bunch of shit we've done already.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
I get that. I think it's supposed to feel kind of like a callback, you know? Mm-hmm. But he introduces Roland, and Roland finally officially asks the town the 3 questions that are required.
Right.
The most important one being, do you seek aid and succor?
Right.
Man, I'm stammering tonight. I'm not, it's been too long since we did this, Natasha.
You fell out of it.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm going to send you back to remedial podcasting school.
I'm going to a convention about this. I better know what I'm doing.
Remedial podcasting school, a.k.a. Reddit. I'm just going to release you into the wild.
No, please. No, not there. Anyway. So, yeah. Took is not into it. But, and Telford's not into it. But everybody else, for the most part, is like, yeah, help us, please. Right.
Yeah, I love that they're sitting there grumbling and everybody else just totally drowns them out.
Yeah. And Overholser has apparently come around. Or at least he's come around to the point where he wants Telford to shut the fuck up and Took to shut the fuck up.
Listen. What does he call him? A mouth organ?
Yeah, I think he does.
I mean, that is a really, really good insult. Like... It's so weird because a mouth organ is basically a harmonica, right?
Yes.
So that, like, think about if you were just like, shut up, you harmonica. Like, it doesn't really make sense. But when you say it mouth organ, it's just so much more demeaning. And, like, that's all you're good for. You haven't got a brain in there. It's just your damn mouth that's going, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. I think I might use that someday.
It's pretty great. It's almost as good as the story that Roland tells everyone about what they're up against and how they're going to win, which is pretty amazing.
I couldn't, like... Did I theorize that maybe they were vampires at one point? I feel like I did, right?
That may have come up, yes.
And I eventually settled on I'm pretty sure they're robots, but I think that I thought of it for a second, and so as insane as it sounds, it did enter my head that might be what it was. So I can see with all these people not having a goddamn clue that they would be like, yeah, all right, that sounds, yeah, you know, because it makes about as much sense as anything if considering how nuts what's been going on is.
Yeah, he basically tells them, like, yeah, they're zombies, they're undead, and and they have a gill.
They have a gill over their chest,
and they can't cover it up with armor.
Yeah, they don't have armor there because then they'll die.
Because they can't breathe.
Just, you know, like how when people put helmets on, they die. You know how that works. Like, okay, sure. But yeah, I mean, I think really it was an effective lie, not only because it is just outlandish enough to just be like, yeah, all right, sure. And also acting like he has more of the answers than they had before is just a smart move to gain their trust.
Yeah, and it's true, you know? Mostly. I mean, they do have more answers than they had before.
They do.
But what he does is he's like, okay, we know everything. I can't tell you everything, because mayhap the wolves have long ears, you know.
Yeah, I like that line, too.
Yeah. Which is great, because especially later in the context of his conversation with Ben Slightman, because what he tells Ben Slightman is, you know, I don't know who to trust, but I can definitely trust you, so I'm telling you.
That was some shit.
Yeah, which is like, oh, dude.
Yeah, that was some shit. It was hard to, like, it was a little hard to read because, like, Ben, as we have established, he doesn't seem to be a bad dude. He has a ton of guilt about what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But he's still doing it anyway.
I also love the line where Telford is like, you guys, all this has been tried before, and Jake says it hasn't been tried by gunslingers.
Yes.
It's like, yeah.
I like that too. Yeah, and everybody starts cheering. Basically, if you use the word gunslingers, it's like a magic word at this point. Because,
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's just like, well, y'all are just better than us. Which apparently is kind of true, so that's fine.
So Roland is basically like, you're all going to bring your kids here on the day before the wolves come, which he's like, we know when they're coming.
Right. And somebody asked, well, why won't they come early, a day early, or hours early? And he's like, they can't. Mm-hmm. But then he doesn't tell them why not.
But he knows. He says, like, he basically says, like, we know why that's a thing.
Right. Which I expect is clockwork, because they're robots.
Ah, interesting.
But
oh, and also, fucking, when he tells the story about the zombies, Jamie Jaffords is like, yep, that's how it was.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Which is so good.
Because they're all sitting there worried that Jamie's gonna, like, fucking give the shit away. And he's just like, that's exactly true. Every word.
Absolutely.
Like, well, all right.
Undead with a gill.
This. With a gill.
That's what it is.
Bless him.
And then there's this other dude whose speech is nearly indecipherable.
Oh, this guy was amazing.
Calls everybody numb gits and then leaves.
I love that. He comes out there and just is like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Y'all dumbass motherfuckers, I guess, try and pull off this garbage.
Right. Fine.
And just walks away. He doesn't try and argue or convince anybody. He's just like, I'm going to do my thing. Fuck you guys. And I kind of respect that more than anything, to be honest. Somebody who's just like, whatever, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Be wrong,
It's
then.
fine. One of us is certainly wrong. I think it's you. So, we'll find out, and that's how it is. And then Roland tells them a story, essentially, of his own youth, about a tree farm, which I thought was about as ridiculous as some of these other people did, but sure.
Right.
And basically his point about the farm is, if we lose, they're just going to take everyone.
Right.
Because they're going to see that this... He's talking about how, like...
got diminishing returns.
Yeah, because he's talking about how the wolves, and I think this is, this is the point that kind of we've been saying everybody should have realized earlier. Mm-hmm. Clearly they want kids. You sit here and you make kids for them. And you wonder why they, like, come every so often to take them. It's because you're making more. Mm-hmm. And so... But his point is, when shit starts to go wrong, you just take all the harvest you can. So they're just going to take everybody. So I strongly suggest that you all bring your kids here and let us protect them.
Yeah, because people are thinking that they only need to bring the twins.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, you need to bring all of them. Which I'm like, oh, okay. Because I don't think that they said that before. That's the first time we're hearing this as readers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that was interesting.
He talks to Ben Slightman. He says, make sure your kid's here too. Mm-hmm. And he also says that he wants some people to protect the kids, right?
Right, yeah.
And he wants Slightman to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which, honestly, I don't even remember why that's a thing.
Like, okay. The only thing I can think is that there's going to be something that gives away that Slightman was into this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that having him with the people who are, good with weapons is one of the only ways to, like, save his life.
That might be it.
Because he kind of promised Jake that they wouldn't kill him if they didn't have to, and they wouldn't let everybody else kill him if they could avoid it.
Oh, man. God, there's that scene later with Benny and Jake.
Isn't that heartbreaking?
When they're talking, and Benny's like, yeah, no, it's just that kind of sucks that after all this happens, like, you're going to leave, and I'm just going to be stuck in this town my whole life. Mm-hmm. And Jake's like, yeah, no, you're going to be lucky to get out of here alive.
Yeah.
You're going to, like, look back fondly on your memories of being in this town.
And curse my fucking name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough one. This whole thing is tough. Like,
it really is.
I like this dynamic of it being somebody who betrayed them, that it's not even about them necessarily, although Ben Slightman is likable. It's about his kid and his involvement with Jake, and instead of making him such a, like, pat villain.
Yeah.
It's something more where it seems like he was really pushed to this point where he didn't have much of a choice. Well, he did, but his choice was unthinkable to him, which was to just let his kid be killed.
Right.
But worse than killed, really.
Yeah, and we'll get to the pat villain, of course, a little bit later on. I think that's pretty much chapter 5.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was a pretty short one.
Yeah.
And then we got into the next one where I was like, some shit better happen. And it did.
Oh, God, yes.
Yes, it did.
Some shit happened. First of all, Eddie and Callahan head up to the doorway cave.
This made me so nervous. Holy shit.
Because Callahan's going to go through the door to East Stoneham, where he discovered they had Tower and Deep now had gone.
Oh, my God.
And he's going to... What does he leave a message for them, right?
Fucking Tower has taken out a post office box in this town. Like a goddamn moron. The very least, he hasn't used his own last name.
Right.
But he used his best friend's last name, which cannot be that difficult to figure out. And I think Eddie's whole theory is that he was in the middle of negotiations to buy some rare book and didn't want to fall out of contact with the person. And so he's concerned that maybe Balazar is going to have the address of the person he was talking to
Yeah.
And we'll be able to, like, follow that and figure out exactly where the mailing address is.
Well, and you get, like, a little Callahan flashback where he's like... It's like Callahan had been, like, skeptical when Eddie said that Tower would probably take out an address. Mm-hmm. He's like, what? He's not going to be that stupid. And Eddie's like, no, dude, yes he is.
That was so, like, he's just like, no. And then at the end of his note, he's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I love it.
It was so good.
Are you fucking stupid?
And he notices how much the accent of the people in this town reminds him of the Calla.
Yeah.
Like, not completely. He says a couple things that he sort of has to, like, re-speak. But most of it, the weird cadence and turns of phrase, he uses at one point, and somebody's like, you sound like you're from around here. And he's like, do I?
Yeah. And the church that he found... basically in order to get him to the town, like he went into a library and took a book.
Right.
And found a picture of a church in East Stoneham that looks peculiarly like his own church.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of this, except for maybe it's not, like, because there are things like this throughout the books that don't really want to being a plot point necessarily. It's just more that there are, like, weird mirrorings of things in general. And each in particular instance does not actually, like, factor in. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just letting us know that there's sort of reflections of things that get overlapped. So I'm not sure whether to, like, read into this or if it's just, you know, its own instance or what. But, yeah, I thought that this was interesting. And then there's the whole Eddie thing, which I didn't care for at all.
So, yeah, a couple things here. First of all, when before anybody goes anywhere, Eddie feels around the bag and discovers there's, like, something, like a little thing sewn into the bag.
Yeah.
Somehow. And he forgets about it, but King does the thing that he does. Mm-hmm. Which is, it was Susanna who eventually found that, and when she did, she was no longer herself. So thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Don't care for that.
Yeah. And then, yeah, while he's waiting for Callahan to come back, he starts reading some Sherlock Holmes, which I really appreciated his line, "Ah, Holmes, another great sage and eminent junkie."
I forgot about that.
And he's got these earplugs in his ears, but the Black 13 is still starting to get to him.
It's calling him.
Yeah. And
he glances at it, he glances at it, he glances at it, and then finally he glances at it and he doesn't glance away.
Nope.
And something starts to talk to him. And I find it really effective that that's all King says, is that something spoke to him and Eddie listened. And you never actually are in his head hearing that. You don't see what that looks like exactly. You know, and maybe we will eventually, but I'd kind of like it if we didn't. Mm-hmm. And there's also the brief, like, oh, there was a book turned upside down, which if he had read that one, it would have changed his whole day.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Which I'm just like, you son of a bitch. He just keeps doing this. Give me something, King. Jesus.
I really wish I could tell you that kind of thing stops. Yeah, and so Callahan comes back through the door, and is barely able to rescue Eddie from jumping off the cliff.
Yeah.
Because the ball told him that he could fly to the tower.
Yeah. It takes a minute for him to realize that wasn't the case. Like, Callahan has to really get up in his face and be like, dude, you can't fly.
Right.
It was trying to kill you. And finally he stops and goes, oh no. Like, and looks down at that 700-foot drop and pukes.
Yep.
It's all over Callahan's shoes, right?
I think so.
So unfortunate.
I really like that it's not a thing where it's like, you know, you snap your fingers in front of his face and he's out of it. You know, it's like, no, this is like, you have to surface from this.
Right.
You know, which I like about it. It does a really good job of getting across just how powerful this thing is.
Yeah.
Is once it gets you, it takes you a minute to come back if you do come back.
This thing makes me super nervous. I just don't like, and I think it's just because I don't know the parameters of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's really what it is that as far as, it's able to get into his head and talk to him. It just, I don't like not knowing what the limits are on what it can do. At least I know, bash somebody over the head and get in their face and they'll come back eventually.
Yeah.
Because I was a little worried that he wasn't, not that he wouldn't be able to get Eddie to come back, because I figured he would, but that there would be something that seemed to remain, you know? And for all I know, that will come up, but I'm at the moment going to assume that's not how it is. But it just, I don't know, not that Eddie was possessed exactly, but just that something about his, equilibrium maybe got messed up. Because Eddie's equilibrium, let's be honest, at the best of times is a questionable thing.
That's a good point, yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of worried about that, but we'll see what happens.
We will. I certainly don't know. So, we're going to have to wait. So, yes. Okay, so, we have a brief scene with Susanna where she's really worried that her baby is going to come before the fighting happens.
Yeah.
And she is starting to realize that she's having blackouts again.
Yeah.
And then
I don't like what. All right. All right. Let's just,
I mean, no, say something.
I don't want to do this again.
What, with her?
Yeah.
I know.
You know?
I do. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have a lot to talk about in that regard.
Yeah.
So, I do love the scene where Eddie and Tian go to talk to Andy.
Oh, yeah.
To convince him.
Oh, my God.
It's so good.
It's so, honestly, it was more satisfying in a way that they were able to fuck with him before they killed him.
I know.
If they had just tricked him and that was it, don't get me wrong, I'd be delighted. But the fact that they were able to feed him this fake shit, watch his reaction, lure him somewhere, basically the insult on top of insult of them being able to overpower him after outsmarting him when he thinks he's smarter than everyone else.
Yeah.
I am just so here for it. It made me so happy.
And I love that Eddie is the one doing it. Because, it's been pretty much established that Eddie is the one who's, really good at fucking with these machines. With Blaine and everything. Because Andy's doing the same thing Blaine was doing with, the clicks. When Eddie says shit like, does the Sebanon blow in the summertime, old buddy?
Oh my God.
It's what are you talking about? Not even I know what you're talking about.
I'm just so the whole thing was from beginning to end, and it has to be Eddie that pulls this off.
Yes.
No other character doing this would have been as much fun. Mostly because Eddie is just so good at being a fucking smartass, and Andy is such a smug dickhead that you really need somebody like Eddie, but also because Eddie's the one that Andy fucked with first, right?
Yeah.
In the woods when they first met up, he was the one that... So I think it's a nice little symmetry there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, so what they do, they tell Andy that they're getting these huge guns.
Yeah, Callahan has them.
Yep. Which Andy, believes, even though there's not really a good reason to think Callahan would have anything of the kind.
Well, what they say later is that, he might not believe, but he's curious, so he'll show up.
Right. Which, I completely am somebody who falls prey to that sort of thing.
It's I know you're up to something, but I want to know what it is. Yeah,
there was a storyline, and I won't spoil it, in a show that I was covering, where there were some people promising something to a group of like grieving individuals, and like they kind of targeted the wrong person who did not buy their shit, but she was someone who would want to know what they were actually doing, because she was like, they can't possibly be succeeding in what they are claiming they're doing, but they're doing something, and I gotta know what it is. And she like follows through on this crazy thing, just kind of, initially it seems like a little bit of desperation on the one hand, but also just like, I just need to know. And that is something I feel like that would drive me crazy. I would want to know, because you can just have an idea about stuff all you want, but and think that you're the smarter one. Mm-hmm. But there's always going to be that like little nagging, yeah, but what if I don't say anything and I'm wrong? What if I don't tell my overlords, my evil overlords, about these massive guns? Right. And it turns out that they get slaughtered.
Yeah, and it's like he's got these questions like, I have to calculate my energy levels to pull these things, Sigh Eddie. So how many are there, would you say? And Eddie's like, oh, you don't bullshit a bullshitter, man.
I, like, dude, come on. It's great, though. It really is, like, the kind of, like, just so satisfying to see him trying to bullshit Eddie, of all fucking people.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly think, like, the more I read these again and, like, go over these books again, Eddie, I think, is my absolute favorite character.
I mean, he's just given so much more to do. I feel about Eddie the way I do about Tyrion. You know, that it's kind of impossible for him to not become one of your favorite characters, because he reacts in the most understandable way, and he's given the most time too. Like, Jake reacts in an understandable way, but he's also a kid. Right. And Roland feels like an alien creature who is just too competent to really, like, relate to. Right. And we are rarely in Susanna's head anymore after all this has happened. I mean, how long has it been since we've been in her POV?
That's true. We really just get these, like, brief snatches. Like, there's this really cool scene here with her and Eddie before they take Andy down. Mm-hmm. But it's not very long. And it I don't know. I appreciate that King takes the time to, like, reaffirm their relationship. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because really, looking at this scene, that's pretty much why it's there. Mm-hmm. Because they talk and they tell each other how much they love each other and they have sex, and it's great. You know, and I love that. But yeah, you're right. Her point of view, basically this whole book, has been very limited. Really since the Wastelands, I feel like.
Yeah. You know, like, and I regret that a little bit. I understand if this is what he's doing with her character, that maybe he felt like he couldn't really do more. Mm. But because, you know, there are things that are going to be just impossible to hide from us if we are inside her POV. Right. And like, there was actually, and I'm going to look for this now, there was a message in my inbox on Facebook where somebody was saying, I just finished the third book and I'm really surprised that you guys didn't talk about the fact that Susanna thinks she's pregnant. And I don't remember that moment. Do you remember that?
There is a moment, and I think we did talk about it. There's a moment when she notices something. I think she missed a period in that book.
Maybe that's what it is.
I believe at one point, like late in the Wastelands, she misses her period. And she's like, well, it's just one. Like, I'm not going to say anything about it. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely she doesn't know she's pregnant or even think she's pregnant until this book, for sure. And I think we did mention it. I'm almost positive we did.
We might have, like, because like I said, here it is. It was Chrissy Regal said, starting book 4 of the Dark Tower series, I'm surprised you and Miles haven't once mentioned Susanna thinks she might be pregnant. And I said, I don't even remember that. What was she thinking? And she says it was right before they go into Lud that she's contemplating the fact that she's missed a period. She thinks about it on the train briefly, too.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely... there are those two things, I think, and again, if we didn't talk about them, then, like, apologies. But, for one thing, I wasn't trying to give anything away too hard.
Yeah, I could see that, too. It can be a very fine line to walk on how to lead a conversation without giving away that something's important.
It really is an interesting experience, like, not to get too far into the weeds, but it's like, you want to be like, so what did you think about this tiny little detail?
Hey, this thing that I'm sure you just to let roll off your back and that you probably maybe actually forgot.
Right.
Because that's the main thing, is that bringing up something that is so small that can be just difficult to remind somebody when it happened. And by drawing attention to it and being like, no, it happened here. No, it wasn't then. It was at this part.
Yeah.
Right after this thing. No, she doesn't say that. She says, and you like hammer it home so hard to get them to remember that you finally just kind of give away that, okay, some shit's happening.
Yeah.
Here,
and honestly, like, the fact that she thinks she's pregnant has no bearing on that book whatsoever. And it has no effect on the story until we get here. So, anyway, they do have that great moment. And then, there's the scene with Jake and Benny, which is great and heartbreaking and awful. Which I think we pretty much covered. I mean, really just Jake is feeling super guilty and
as he should. Like, not that he should, like, I'm not trying to say that he's not doing the right thing, but like, I don't feel like he's being unreasonable with himself there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good that he feels guilty. It means that he has, like, a moral compass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of do feel that way, to be honest.
Yeah. And it also, speaks to the depth of friendship that he's formed with this kid, that he feels this bad about it. So then they... Oh, I guess we also get one more little scene here, because we get a scene between Roland and Rosa.
Which, the two of them.
And Susanna noticed earlier, like, those two, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of sweet and it's kind of sad, because, like, we already had... I mean, it's not like... It's a weird thing to... I was talking to Owen about the book, and he said something along the lines of how weird it is to think of Roland having sex at all. And I had to remind him, remember in the very first town?
Yeah, it's like one of the first thing that happens.
He fucks this lady like the whole time he's there. The whole time. And Owen was like, does he? Like, he had completely forgotten about that, because it does feel like Roland is almost superhuman and doesn't need sex.
Right.
Sometimes he just feels so detached from his body, except in this very almost mechanical way, that I think it's kind of a nice, like, detail to add. Oh, and by the way, he fucks. But at the same time, Tull didn't go great.
No.
So I feel like weirdly worried for this lady, almost like just having sex with Roland is like a death sentence, even though...
Yeah, because Tull especially didn't go great for Allie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and it didn't go great for her, I think, because she was sleeping with him, so...
Right.
Yeah, so they continue preparations. They're going to go dig some trenches. And it says that they reached the place where on their right a rocky track wandered off into the Arroyo country toward the Gloria and Redbirds 1 and 2, which is where Slightman says they must be taking the kids into.
Right.
The Falcon assumed that the Buckos would be left here, and they were correct. They also assumed that the children and their miners would then walk up the track to one mine or the other. In this, they were wrong. And again, he's not letting it... King's not letting us in on what Roland's plan is. There's just all these things that it isn't.
Yeah. Which I would have annoyed me a lot more if I didn't get Andy being shot in the face.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Let's talk. I do, and let's talk about Andy being shot in the face because
I need to find the exact spot. Hold on, because I want to read the way that this happens because it was so sudden in a way that it caught me a little bit off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was just. I think the main thing was that I didn't realize that he shot him through the eyes. So when his immediate response was, "I'm blind," it just I started inadvertently just laughing. But
I mean, yeah.
Andy's
dead. It's funny.
Well, it's more about the panic of it. I think that's what I didn't expect was he reacts in a weirdly human way to what's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At first he's about to go into the privy and Eddie he can't help it. He has to taunt him and be like, "You're a fucking traitor who teaches songs to the kids and then sends them to be," and almost doesn't get the door shut on him. Mm-hmm. He could have just waited a second, Eddie. But of course he couldn't.
No.
But yeah, so the way this says, Eddie fired twice. The reports were deafening. Andy's eyes exploded and went dark. I thought his eyes exploded from just destruction of the circuitry. That it was just the lights popping.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, "No!" Andy screamed in an amplified voice. It was so loud it made the gunshots seem no more than popping corks by comparison. "No! My eyes! I can't see! Oh no! Vision zero! My eyes! My eyes! No! 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 I can't see! Vision zero! What have you done to me? Ambush! Attack! I'm blind! Code 7! Code 7! Code 7! I don't know why, but it's so hysterically funny to me.
Well, it's like when you have those characters who, those great villains who are I am so smart and so awesome, and I can't be hurt, and I can't be, oh God, what did you do?
Yeah, I think that is what it is. It's a combination of it being a weirdly human reaction that I didn't expect, and also for him to act like he's so invulnerable.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so mad.
So fucking smug. And for him to immediately just start bawling essentially as soon as something doesn't go his way, it's great.
Yeah, that's a good point too. It's just it could be that he's reacting that way to what's actually physically happened to him, but it could just be the utter shock of things not falling into place the way they always have.
Yeah, I mean,
which is probably more likely.
And he lets out a fucking siren,
oh
the
my
fucking
God.
siren starts going off.
A fucking siren. That's so good.
And then, because they've trapped him in that really nice privy that's behind the church, which kind of made me sad, to be honest. Because that place is probably getting fucked up. Okay,
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. When I'm writing scenes like this and I've established that something is really useful or really beautiful and just a really pleasant, good thing.
Yeah.
It pains me to destroy that fake thing that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's really stupid. I find it to be something that I actually have to work on because it's so limiting to me that I have trouble. It's sort of like that classic thing where you give a superhero a piece of equipment or something that they have relied on the whole time, and inevitably they have to lose it, right? Mm-hmm. Something that they have given more power than they themselves have, even though they're the superhero. And this happens in Harry Potter. His wand breaks, his broom breaks.
His owl dies.
Right, exactly. Spoilers, but guys, it's too late. But it's the kind of thing that I know, it's a smart move and it has to happen and all this. And just in life that happens. You have things you love and then they're gone. but it's so hard for me to do. And I had the same reaction to this, where they were just talking about what a nice privy it was. There's a painting in it. Eddie loves using it because he doesn't have to worry about getting poison ivy on his ass. And then he has to fucking Andy can't just die. He has to destroy yet another great thing while he dies.
Yeah.
It's just such a bummer.
Yeah. Well, it only takes away from it a little bit. What they actually do to kill him, besides blinding him and trapping him in the bathroom, is that Eddie figures he knows the password.
Right.
So he says, password's 19, and he's like, nope, you fucking murdering bastard, you have 10 seconds.
Oh my god, I loved that so much.
And so Eddie's like, well, it's 99, because earlier they were like, it's either 19 or it's 99, but he's like, nope. And there's this, like, insane triumph in his voice. And then finally, Eddie comes up with 1999, which is correct.
Yes, which is weird. Is that supposed to mean something to me?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, like, missing something.
No,
but okay.
I don't believe it's come up yet over the course of this book. So, not to say that it will mean something later. I wouldn't imply that, but
I hate you.
Fine line, guys. Fine line. So Eddie gets into Andy's programming and tells him to shut down. He said, and Andy is all sad now. A small, horrified voice said, "Please don't make me, you bad man. Oh, you bad man."
Oh my god, what a creepy thing. There's something so much creepier about that.
Yes, Eddie of New York, I will shut myself down. A horrible, self-pitying sadness had crept into Andy's new small voice. It made Eddie's skin crawl. Andy is blind and will shut down. Are you aware that with my main power cells 98% depleted, I may never be able to power up again? And Eddie's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. You go do that. And then...
Never may be too soon.
And then, because fucking of course, Andy starts doing the same thing the goddamn bear did, which is broadcasting the fact that he's shutting down at, like,
oh my God.
unbelievable
I forgot
volume.
about that.
Ugh.
I forgot that that's what the bear did, and how long it took to go away, like, and how loud it was.
Yep.
Just the whole thing.
And then they tear up the floor of the privy and bury Andy in shit.
Yes.
Which is just, like, the perfect way to do it.
The only thing I'm concerned about is that the wolves are going to hear Andy and know something is up. Do you know what I mean? Like, hear that he's shutting down and realize, like, the jig is up.
Well, I mean, this is, I think, 2 days before they come?
Right.
And shutdown's already 19% complete, so hopefully it'll be done by the time they get there. Which, incidentally, I'll tell you, I'll tell the story next time. I'll tell it next time.
Okay.
I have a weird and almost entirely tangential thing to say about how many days there may or may not be until the wolves come.
Okay.
But next week, I think next time we record, we can cover it. But yeah. The last thing, kind of the denouement of this chapter, is that Overholser shows up. And he had shouted the others down at the meeting, but when it came time to when Roland asked them if they were with him, he didn't say anything.
Right.
And now he's showing up saying, hey, one of the guys you had guarding the children says his gut busted. I'm going to go with appendix, yeah. And
oh, right.
So take me instead.
And is doing it with this kind of desperation that, I actually kind of appreciated that there's not a sense that Roland has lost respect for him because of this. Because I kind of thought he might be a dick about it. But instead, he's more like, no, I'm glad to have you. appreciate that you're like, being a sane human about this.
He's come over, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I did see this just now. In the distance, they could still hear him bellowing, but probably not for much longer. The amplified voice was claiming shutdown was 79% complete. So,
right.
Probably going to be not too much longer.
Yeah, I guess like not only do we have to worry about the wolves hearing it, but what's his face hearing it too?
Oh, Slightman?
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Although I'm not sure that he would be. I don't know. Because he might see this as like a way out. If he has faith that Roland's crew could potentially actually take the wolves down, the fact that they took out Andy would give me a lot of confidence. Mm-hmm. Not if I were a regular townsperson, because I don't know, but as Slightman, I know what's going on. So if they had figured out like half the puzzle, I might be glad and not say anything, depending on how confident I was that they'd be able to pull this off. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he lives out on the edge of town, so he may or may not be aware.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I do find interesting is that it does seem like Andy is shutting down faster, which I presume is because he's just like a messenger robot and not, one of the fucking guardians of the 12 portals, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I forgot how fucking long that took with that bear.
Yeah. Anyway, next chapter, Natasha, is entitled The Wolves. And it is the last chapter.
I'm not getting my hopes up at all. I'm going to assume that we finish this book not knowing what or who the wolves are or anything. That this book just ends with a big giant middle finger drawn in the last page.
Well, besides the epilogue, it's the last chapter of the book. So,
dun dun dun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm stoked that we're almost done. And after this, we got 2 more books to go.
Yeah, I mean, 2 more, and that's it. Now, this book is pretty long. How do the other 2 books stack up against this one?
Book 6 is much shorter. It's one of I want to say it's one of the shortest books in the series. I believe, I'm not positive about that, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty short book. Like I got through that one quickly.
Okay.
Book 7 is stupidly long.
Okay, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I have a bunch of people to say hi to, new patrons that all signed up in the time that I was away. We have one of my favorite names ever, Fernando Fortune.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real name, but if it is, lucky you.
And if it isn't, good job coming up with a name that good.
Right? Jenny Truex, Alyssa Velasquez, Andrew Kogan, Katie Hanna, Leela Moses, Max Bodshek. Katie Hanna actually came to Orlando. What's up, Katie? Michaela Jones, Ida Udbach, Daisy Dunlap, Alan Kingsley. What's up, Alan?
What's up, Alan?
Linnea Johnson, Kayla, Emily Kemp, Elvira Dobis, and Liz Staten all became patrons. So welcome to all of you guys. Thank you all so much. Make sure to join us on the Facebook group for patrons. If you can't find the link, it's usually right after you sign up, you get a little welcome email automatically from me. And the link is in there. If it doesn't work, let me know and I will send you the link. Also, register on the Unspoiled website, unspoiledpodcast.com. And what have I got going on? There's so much that's happened recently that I've kind of lost track. But I just want to remind everybody that with Christmas shopping coming, if you use Amazon for your shopping, do me a favor and use my Amazon link because I get a little bit of a kickback. Recently, Amazon has been cracking down a little bit on a lot of different podcasts that I've heard about. Because I'm technically not supposed to have made a redirect link. I guess the whole thing is that you're supposed to be funneling people to Amazon to buy specific items via a link for a specific item. And the fact that I, as many other podcasts have done, created a link on spoiledpodcast.com/Amazon, is kind of in violation of what it's meant to be. And so they have shut other podcasts down for doing that. So this is going to be the last time that I use that actual direct link to mention how to find something. But I would really, really appreciate it if you all would bookmark it, use that to do your holiday shopping, and help a sister out, because it can be a huge relief to get a little extra boost of income from Amazon towards the end of the month, when being paid monthly can be really hard to budget out. And from here on out, I'm going to have to I'll be posting links to a specific item in like the show notes or something, so that I can kind of get around their restrictions on that, because I don't need to be losing a source of income. But I just wanted to let you all know that redirect link might start to become a problem for me. So jury's still out on if I'm going to be able to keep that working the way that it is. Hopefully the method that I choose will be what they see if they investigate me at all. But I don't think that I'm making enough from it for them to really like look in at me. It seems to be podcasts that are much bigger than mine that have gotten scrutinized a little bit more recently. So hopefully I'll skate by for a little longer. Other than that, I'm going to be starting in the new year Westworld with Rashawn, which I'm really excited about. And Maggie is going to be joining me on Orphan Black to replace Owen, who just does not have the time to record that he wishes he had. So those are the two new things coming up. And we just finished Stranger Things a couple weeks ago, too. So if you're interested in Stranger Things, that's up on iTunes already. I think that's everything. Sir, you want to take it away?
Yeah. Y'all check out the Smash Fiction Podcast, which is the show that I do with some friends of mine, where we put fictional characters against one another in a battle of various things. Either fighting or sneaking or singing or dating or whatever. There's lots of different options of the Smash Fiction Podcast. Our most recent episode... our most recent episode is the latest edition of Extraordinary League, which is the actual play RPG that we release as a bonus episode. It's not a bonus episode. It's in place of a regular Smash Fic episode, but we release it on the first Sunday of every month. The most recent episode is super fun, as we beat a He-Man henchman with the power of wokeness. So, check that out. It's a good old time.
That's funny.
And then before that, we did a match between Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill and Furiosa from Fury Road. So that was fun. Got a Star Wars themed match coming out soon. And some more cool stuff down the road. We are closing in on 100 episodes. So we have a lot of stuff coming in down the road in celebration of that crazy fucking nonsense. 100 episodes. Why didn't any of you stop us? Anyway. So I do that. I do the Odyssey Storytelling Podcast, which you can check out on odysseystorytelling.com. Also has its own podcast feed on your Apple Podcast or whatever it is. Check out universesofthemind.com for my science fiction writings. And I think that's it.
Nice. All right. Well, everybody, thank you again so much for listening and for bearing with us as we are a little bit off and on during this very busy holiday and travel season.
Yeah.
But hopefully doing a couple chapters at a time has helped ease that up a little bit. And thank you, Al. I was about to call you Alan. I'm thinking about Alan because I just saw him.
Thinking about Alan.
For the first time
I'm
in
right
literally...
here, Natasha.
I saw him for the first time in literally 20 years.
Wow.
I'm the person that's old enough to say that now. Is that crazy? Oh my God.
We're close to being the same age. I understand.
Anyway, thank you, Miles.
No problem.
For joining me this evening.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again in 2 weeks with a new chapter. The last chapter, in fact.
Yep.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
was an Unspoiled Network podcast.